Welcome to The Vibrant Couple. I have invited my friend Monique Stephens again to record an episode on relationship tools. Today, we are going to talk about something that, in my French words, pisses each other off most of the time: interrupting. Interrupting, actually, when we look at it, when we are in sync with each other, basically we feel heard, we feel grokked by our partner. And we're out of sync, it really basically repels each other. So we are doing this video to look at how we are interrupting each other. And we are going to also look at interruption as a tool we can learn to better be in relationship with each other. Monique and I are going to talk about expected benefits, how to use this tool. We will do role plays and our usual Q&A. So Monique, aren't we already interrupting each other all the time?
Yes, we are. And interruptions are, when they're done skillfully, really make the conversation roll out well. And when they're done not skillfully, it's painful to communicate. So, step one is to realize we are interrupting each other all the time. We do that by smiling and nodding, by going, oh yeah, and verbally interrupting. We do it by grimacing, crossing our eyes, sighing, eye rolling, so we can convey excitement or judgment. Step one, notice you're doing it all the time. Step two is add skillful interrupting. You can do this when your partner is sharing so much material that you can't absorb it all at once. We recommend time out. And that's a physical way to show them, I need to step in. We also want to encourage you to see that interrupting is a sign of being engaged. There's something very healthy and beautiful and productive about interrupting. And so
So
doing that,
hold on, Monique. I want to
yes.
make sure I'm getting you. Keep going.
Yes, and so this is showing like I'm trying to pay attention, Monique. Too many words, let me absorb for a minute. So skillful interruption demonstrates a relaxed back and forth in exchange and engaged interaction.
Monique, I love it. How about also reducing unskilled interruptions?
Yes, because when we are unskilled with our interruptions, we frustrate our partner and we don't give them the time they need to find their words and thoughts. We indicate that we're not open to what they have to say. We're rushing to show we know instead of giving them the time to share what's true for them in this moment. We can inadvertently signal disrespect as if we don't care what's happening for them. And in some ways, we're showing a lack of self control, that I'm not able to just listen. And we can then be attempting to control who's saying what when.
Any tools you recommend?
Yes, most of us are aware of the verbal interruptions. They can be more effective when we use nonverbal interruptions first. One is holding up a T as like a timeout. So if someone is talking and you want to take a moment to have them pause, regroup, or you are getting flooded, hold up a T and asking for timeout. As the speaker, if I don't want to be interrupted, and my partner often interrupts me, we recommend holding up a pointer finger or a hand to say, let me finish the thought I'm on, don't interrupt me yet. If I am wanting to interrupt, I can say, and then smile, which is, I'd like to speak to that point where you are now. So I'm inviting myself in to that spot. And touch is a gentle way of interrupting. Stroking someone's back if you're in a group environment, any type of that is gentle and co-regulating. As is a deep breath, possibly with a smile. You're inviting your partner to slow down and maybe pause, which is a possible on-ramp for you.
Monique, you've given us a lot on interruptions and how to do it. Would you mind talking about the motivation underlying interruptions, are unconscious. That's, we're doing it and but why? And also some hints about how we can learn skillfully to practice interruptions so that we can basically be jiving with each other instead of repelling each other.
Yes, great point. Interrupting can backfire. That's why I call it a tool with sharp edges. And what makes it backfire is when our intentions are not like in support of the relationship. So we like to tee up the preliminaries is you and I in our role play as a couple will say, "Hey, I'd like to practice our interrupting skills and have a conversation about it before we start using the tools." And so it's sort of an inquiry for me as I'm noticing interrupting, how I respond to it, how I use the tool on me, by me, for me. Am I interrupting to correct or show them I know?
Yes, you do often interrupt me to correct.
Yeah. So, and truly, and this is a place where I notice the dynamics for us are that I could work on interrupting less. Am I interrupting to honor the important aspects and to say, oh, that point matters, and to break things into smaller chunks? That's a fantastic motivation for interrupting. And it's for them and for us. And does my partner struggle to put words to their reality and experiences? Well,
Never. As a man, I always have words. I always outword my feminine partner.
yes, and you bring up the topic of polarity. So, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, what we'll shorthand describe as men tend to want to process more slowly, tend to struggle to find the words. And what we'll call just more generally women tend to have that corpus callosum that lets our brain do this back and forth very quickly. So, am I interrupting because I'm excited and I want to connect? How else may I convey my excitement? Maybe I could do more of these gentle nonverbal interruptions. Shall we role play a few of these examples?
Absolutely. So, listeners, for every role play, we are going to introduce it. So, we basically guide you for what to look for. We'll do the role play, and then we're going to have a conversation about the role play of what was missing, what went wrong, what we can do differently, and then we'll do a second role play. In the sequence of role plays, please know that Monique and I are colleagues. We are not a couple in real life, which somehow makes it a lot easier and more playful to interrupt each other because we don't have the baggage that couples have that basically have been interrupting each other and skillfully for the last 20 years or 30 or 2 years, however long you've been married. So first role play, Monique is going to be talking and I will not interrupt her enough.
So, Valdo, I think we really need to talk about what happened yesterday because, yesterday when you didn't show up and then you didn't acknowledge that we had an agreement, it was like the times that happened before where, that happened 2 days ago and 2 weeks ago, and this is a real pattern for us. And what I notice happens is that, like, are you even listening to me?
Okay, so trust this was long enough for you to see that Monique was getting more and more wound up in in basically her talking. So now we're going to up the ante. I'm going to interrupt her negatively. You ready, Monique? Same role play.
Valdo, the other day when you didn't show up and you didn't have what you said you were going to bring with you, it was disappointing for me. Well, but don't don't just do that because it's like you don't even care. It's like you're not even listening. It really impacted me. I just, I feel like I can't count on you.
Okay,
I feel,
so you and I are laughing about this negative reinforcement, but many couples do that with each other. And
Uh-huh.
so anyway, so our intent is to counter out that curse, and we're going to do a third role play in which you're going to be talking the same thing where you want to talk about our relationship, and I'm going to demonstrate how to interrupt skillfully. You ready?
I'm ready. So, Valdo, the other day when you were half an hour late and you didn't bring the broccoli salad to the party, I felt like I couldn't count on you.
So
I,
hold
yeah,
on, Monique. I want to go back in time to so I can have a vivid memory of that time. So was that Friday night?
yeah, it was. Yeah,
Oh yeah. So
yeah.
now I remember. So now I'm in sync with you.
Okay.
Please keep going on. So go for it.
Yeah, yeah. And so, it's not about any one time that you're late or any one thing you don't bring. What I'm noticing is there's a pattern. And so I'm trusting you less. I want to bring the broccoli salad. I want to tell you to be there earlier than you
And
need
so
to be.
hold on, Monique.
Yeah.
Um, I need, I'm a man, I need to simplify. So if we mix what you want from me, big picture, and the broccoli salad, I get frazzled between the two. So what I'm hearing is the broccoli salad was just an example, and what you want is you want to know that I'm there, I'm independable, you can count on me.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I guess if we go even deeper, thanks for doing this exploration with me. I feel like that maybe you just struggle because I know your heart's in the right place, and you just struggle with being consistent. And I wonder if we could have a conversation about just do you feel like you're inconsistent, or is that something that is on my side?
Okay, so yes, thank you. And so I need to take a step back here. I'm hearing your wish that I be consistent. And although you and I had that conversation many times, I do not have, yes?
Is it okay? Yeah. So what I'm realizing is, yes, we have had the conversation about you being inconsistent many times, and maybe that's why I'm getting more upset, is I feel like we're going around a loop.
So I'm glad we have this conversation because from the moment I feel judged to be inconsistent, it's a different conversation. And so, would you be willing to drop that judgment and talk about the pain from when I'm inconsistent? So you keep that for you. You talk
Hmm.
about your struggles because it's hard for me to hear judgment, but I can fully be with you about your feelings.
Got it. Okay, so I'll just talk about the impact on me without the judgment. This is very
Yes,
helpful. Thank you
yes,
so
yeah,
much.
yeah. So when I didn't bring the broccoli Friday night, how did you feel?
Um, I felt lonely.
Yeah, yeah. So now I can fully hear you, and now I getting it. I can go back in time. When could I have done something different on Friday to basically tell you, blast to you, you matter, I love you, I don't want you to feel lonely. What can I do differently?
Yeah,
And so
thank
if I had texted you and saying, hey, I'll be late 10 minutes because I'm going to pick up the broccoli, sorry, I forgot them, would that have made a difference for you?
so much so. Yes. Thank you.
Wonderful. So, listeners, notice here how my interrupting enabled Monique to feel heard, and we went deeper and deeper and deeper. And of course, it's a skilled person to be able to say, hey, that doesn't work for me, but this does work for me. Let's go there in a very, synergistic way. And then we went to her feelings, which made that she felt really heard and that I could really hear her. We'll talk about a Q&A because we have several questions about judgments and poor interruptions. So this is a role play in which skillful interruptions and skillful ability to meet each other where it really matters.
Yes, and the techniques that will work for you in your couplehood will vary. So part of this work, like Valdo was talking about, what's beneath, what's deeper, is figuring out what's your intention, what works for your couple, and really accept who and where you are.
And now our Q&A. And because my purpose is connection and playfulness, I start the game here. And I put on top of the questions the one on playfulness. The question is, can we do this playfully?
Absolutely. The more playful, the better. If you want to do like time out and really invite some laughter here, that will help ease the judgments that are behind the pain of interrupting done unskillfully.
As a couples coach, a significant part of my work is to help couples learn to understand and connect with each other. At a time they do not want to be connected, at a time they do not want to be playful with each other. So here a very important preliminary is to understand that often our interrupting has very, very, very deep wounds, underlying deep wounds we have learned as children from our environment at the time we were not even verbal in our own development. And so learning to accept this makes that it's a lot easier to then have a conversation about how can we practice slowly and gently and likely over several years to change those deep patterns we have, these deep imprints we have, to learn to become more connected and more playful with each other.
Yes, it might be easier to accept the long, slow journey if you think of that destination you're reaching, that this is a slow turning of a ship. You'll get there, it just takes time.
Second question feels universal. My partner hates it when I interrupt. What's going wrong?
Probably you want to start with talking about how you communicate. And I invite you to be playful about it's great that I interrupt and why, and it's horrible that I interrupt and why, and really just look at the dynamics of interrupting within your conversations as its own conversation, then wade back in. What's probably happening is you are both picking up on judgments you both have. Things like, they should be able to put words to this, or dang it, they always interrupt me, they're so impatient. And those are probably what's causing it to be painful instead of playful. What if I realize I want to interrupt to correct them?
I want to congratulate you on your awareness because it all starts with awareness. You noticing that you're doing things that don't work. Typically, at the beginning, awareness happens after the fact. You know, I have a pain in my feeling, I'm not happy, my partner is pissed with me. And then as we keep practicing our awareness, we are more and more able to do that in real time. So I'm going to address here the real timeness when you say, oh shit, I am noticing that I want to basically correct my partner. I want to invite you to slow the process down and learn to listen, learn to be curious. Monique and I did a video recently on paraphrasing, which is a wonderful tool to help your partner to feel heard and for you to be curious about what they are saying and not about your judgment or what they are saying or what they are missing. This is a question that is very gender stereotypical, so I'm going to ask it following the stereotype. It's most likely a man saying, my partner is much more verbal than I am. How can I interrupt them skillfully?
Yeah, again, be playful. You can even take a piece of paper, crumple it up, and throw it on the ground so you can have a non-verbal fit and reminds your partner playfully that you don't want to be interrupted. Find what works for you.
So, what I'm hearing is that by signaling and working on your anger, but not towards your partner, you're doing something off to the side, like, ah, then you can come back, and that's an interruption that lets go of your anger and signals your partner that, hey, slow down.
Yes, because that anger is a self-righteous, self-loving thing. You can't just ignore it. It'll come out somewhere. So using it playfully as part of your interruption can be very helpful.
My partner is often distracted or busy. How can I interrupt them so that we can have time to connect?
That's a great question. So we want to stop and look. If they're distracted and they're looking at a phone or a television, or often it's a screen, you might invite them to stop doing the activity or doing dishes, right? Whether they're busy or distracted. Say, I notice that you're doing the dishes. I notice that you're looking at your phone. Would you please stop that activity to give me your full attention? This question is similar but powerfully different. My partner looks at me, but I don't know if they're really there. What should I do?
That is an excellent question. This is the place where it's good to bring our stress response. And basically, we have fight or flight or freeze. I'm going to pass on phone right now. And so, fight is when basically our partner says something and we fight back. Flight is we leave. And freeze is when we somehow become frozen. That one I know personally really well because, from my own childhood trauma, that's where I was at a lot. And the key is to learn slowly but surely to unfreeze. And for me, one of the important emotions to get in touch with was rightful indignation. Often my partner was saying something that basically pissed me off, but I was in that mode. And learning to access that emotion enabled me to slowly but surely. So, coming back to the question, your partner really likely wants to be there, is doing his or her best to be there, but is frozen. It's not they are not interested, is that there is a spell that basically squashes their spirit and they are frozen.
So it sounds like, as the partner who's this listener asking the question, holding a safe space for them, saying, I first made up you weren't interested, but now I think you might be upset, and I want to hold a space to hear what you're upset about. Kind of coaxing them out of that frozen state.
So yes, and because you volunteered the feeling, and it might be better to put a hand on their chest and very slowly and saying, "Hey, what is going on?"
Hmm.
And so they might be upset. They are likely upset, but getting in touch with them because with freeze, there is also a lot of shame.
Hmm. So just that gentle coaxing and then holding a space for them to be upset.
Exactly. I love this question. We are learning to interrupt each other skillfully, but it often goes wrong.
So this is back to practicing self-awareness and self-soothing. Each of you are feeling that, ooh, it's not going well. Notice the feeling, self-soothe, co-regulate. Take time to understand each other. What is very likely happening is you're dragging past interactions into this now moment and you're tripping out about future things, what's going to happen past this now moment. Bring each other laughingly, playfully back to right here, right now. This viewer asks, what about cultural differences?
My playful short answer is yes. And so, in a couple, we all come from different backgrounds, and it's really important to understand that. And also, it's important to understand that our infant wounds actually are maybe even more important than that. And so, the idea is to learn to understand cultural differences, all of them.
Including family, religion, geographical, all of them.
Exactly. And, our deep triggers.
Yes.
I feel very touched by this question. Can anyone learn to interrupt skillfully?
Me too. Those that have attention deficit disorder or on the autism spectrum disorder, for example, uh, are navigating the world differently than someone who doesn't. And so for them, it might be a bigger struggle to not just interject because it makes sense to them or because something has caught their attention. So there might be extra patience and skill required for those. For those who,
May I interrupt you here?
yep,
What you just described is a category of people that have a hard time reading the room.
yes, or attending to it, yes. And there's many different reasons that could be true. So sometimes it's helpful in your couplehood to ask your coach or counselor, could there be something else happening for one or both of us that makes it so much harder to be present in the room? And then there's those that might be on the narcissism scale. So the level of self absorption, a different reason to have trouble reading the room, could be almost a non starter in being good at skillful interruption. So if you're truly clinically narcissistic, it would probably be hard to learn this skill.
How do we know when we interrupt each other skillfully?
Hmm. You'll have a energized back and forth. Your energy will go up. It won't feel painful. It will be engaged. You'll feel more present, more understanding, and more compassion for each other as you interrupt skillfully. At the end, you'll say, that was a great conversation.
If this video inspired you to liberate more love in your couple, please hit the like button below and subscribe so you can be notified when Monique and I create new juicy content. And please share with all you believe would benefit. We look forward to seeing you very soon.